Wales. Known for its stunning landscape made up of mountains, valleys, and sprawling sandy beaches, there are few places in the world more beautiful than this proud Celtic nation. But although Wales may be a perfect place to get out and about to explore the countryside, its many towns and cities also have plenty to offer to the prospective visitor. From some of the world's most spectacularly preserved medieval castles, to jaw-droppingly beautiful coastal towns, mesmerising cathedrals, and bustling metropolises, there are so many amazing towns to visit in Wales. And in this video we're going to take a look at just 8 of them, which you should absolutely make the time to visit next time you get the chance. Number 8. Pembroke. Situated in the always beautiful county of Pembrokeshire, in the very southwest of Wales, Pembroke is a small town of around 8,000 people, which is home to more than its fair share of history. When arriving in Pembroke, you'd be hard-pressed to miss the town's immense medieval castle, which towers over the Pembroke River, and has done so for the best part of 900 years. Originally built by the Normans back in the 11th century, Pembroke Castle is one of the largest castles in all of Wales. And while it's undoubtedly visually spectacular, both inside and out, the castle is also full of heritage, most notable as the birthplace of King Henry VII of England, the first Tudor monarch who took victory in the Wars of the Roses, and who was also the last English monarch to take the throne via the battlefield. Beyond the castle, meanwhile, a visit to Pembroke offers the chance to sample an array of delightful local pubs and restaurants, most of which are situated along the town's tight but busy main street, the only modern street located inside what were once the old town walls, just a few small sections of which remain today. Number 7. Llandudno. Wales is home to more than 1,600 miles of coastline, making it the perfect place to enjoy a holiday by the sea. But there are few major seaside resorts in Wales quite as wonderful as Llandudno. Situated on a small peninsula on the nation's north coast, Llandudno as we know it today is mainly a product of the Victorian era, when it grew to become what was known as the Queen of Welsh watering places, visited by thousands upon thousands of people each year. The town is mostly based around the sprawling Llandudno Bay, most of which is lined by the 2-mile-long North Shore beach, made up of a mix of pebbles and sand. Stretching out to sea, meanwhile, is the busy Llandudno Pier, the longest pier in Wales, while overlooking the wide promenade and the lively crowds of tourists is the imposing Great Orme, which you can either climb or take a tram to the top of, and enjoy stunning nature and even views towards Snowdon, the Isle of Man, and the city of Liverpool on the clearest days. As the largest seaside resort in Wales, there are countless places to stay in Llandudno, with an array of beautiful historic hotels lining the seafront, and plenty more nestled among the shops of the bustling town centre, where you can stroll the streets and window shop just like Victorian holidaymakers did around 150 years ago. Number 6. Carmarthen. Wales is a nation of castles, and the historic town of Carmarthen proves that once again, home to the ruins of a historic 800-year-old stone fortress that towers over the River Towy, and which you can visit free of charge. The castle is the centrepiece of what has often been claimed to be the oldest town in all of Wales. Carmarthen not just home to medieval history, but also a wealth of Roman heritage, once upon a time known by the Latin name Moriggiunum, and where you can also visit the remains of the only Roman amphitheatre unearthed in Wales. Beside these main historic landmarks, a stroll along Carmarthen's core streets will see you pass by a more than 700-year-old church, what's reputed to be the smallest pub in Wales, and much more. While the town, which is served by direct trains departing from as far away as London and Manchester, is a great place to base yourself for further exploration of southwest Wales. Number 5. St David's. Speaking of southwest Wales, on the very tip of Pembrokeshire, you'll find the historic settlement of St David's, which is the smallest city, not just in Wales, but the whole of the UK. Home to just over 1,000 people, St David's is more akin to a countryside village than a city. But history has played its part in giving this riveting location its city status, mostly thanks to the presence of the mighty St David's Cathedral, the site of the shrine of Wales's patron saint, St David, and which might just be the most beautiful cathedral in the country. With a history dating back nearly 1400 years to when a monastery was founded on the very tip of Pembrokeshire, the cathedral is gorgeous both inside and out, situated in the heart of the secluded Cathedral Close, a walled area historically separate from the rest of St David's, which is also home to the trickling waters of the River Allen and the immense remains of the historic Bishop's Palace, that was once upon a time one of Wales's greatest ecclesiastical landmarks. Outside the Cathedral Close, meanwhile, you'll find a city made up of just a handful of streets, most lined by rows of small houses and cottages, while the heart of the city is marked by what's known as the Cross Square, home to a war memorial, the historic medieval Market Cross, a few places to sit down, and a Welsh flag flying proudly above the flocks of tourists who come to explore this riveting corner of Welsh heritage. Number 4. Cardiff. From the country's smallest city to its very biggest, the capital of Cardiff is always high on the list of places to visit in Wales, and for very good reason. With a lively atmosphere, legendary nightlife, and so much more that rivals the UK's biggest metropolises, there's plenty to keep you entertained on a night out or action-packed weekend away in Cardiff. But the Welsh capital also offers bountiful shopping opportunities, beautiful seaside views, stunning modern architecture, and some of the most important landmarks in all of Wales, ranging from the immense Cardiff Castle, where you'll find Celtic, Roman, Norman and later heritage all combined, to the striking Senedd building, home to the modern Welsh Parliament. A visit to Cardiff isn't complete without exploring the delightful grounds of Bute Park, while the city also boasts an immense Victorian market hall, a collection of beautiful churches, some of Wales's most impressive Edwardian civic buildings, and of course a seemingly endless array of shopping arcades, covered streets that were mostly developed in the Victorian era, and which play home to a wealth of delightful independent shops, cafes, restaurants and more, that are well worth checking out as you weave your way between the buildings. The heart of the city is always full of life, but in recent years a new centre of activity has emerged down at Cardiff Bay, a short bus ride from the city centre, and where you'll find yet more places to eat and drink, as well as some of Wales's most impressive modern landmarks. Not just the Senedd building, but also the dazzling Millennium Centre and the immense Roald Dahl Place, which stand alongside older seaside structures like the Pierhead building and the unusual Norwegian church, a captivating curiosity to seek out when you're in the city. There is of course even more to see and do in the towns and villages surrounding Cardiff, while a trip up into the famous Welsh valleys usually starts in the capital too, making a visit to Cardiff an absolute must for anyone looking to explore Wales in depth. Number 3. Caernarfon. The Welsh people take great pride in their national identity, and if there's one town in the nation where you can really get to grips with what it means to be Welsh, then it's probably the historic castle town of Caernarfon. Located in the very northeast of Wales, just across the water from the island of Anglesey, Caernarfon is a cradle of Welsh culture and heritage in the modern day, while it's also a town where you're just as likely to hear the Welsh language being spoken by everyday people on the streets. More than 80% of Caernarfon residents can, and more often than not do, speak Welsh, and they also take great pride in showcasing the illustrious history of their hometown, which like so many others is dominated by a spectacular medieval castle, the mighty Caernarfon Castle, dating from the late 13th century, when the English King Edward I ordered its construction as part of his conquest of Wales. Despite having begun life as a symbol of English power, Caernarfon Castle has over the centuries also served as a central landmark in Welsh history, while it also serves as just one feature of Caernarfon's historic town walls, which survive almost entirely intact to this day. Elsewhere within the walled town, you'll find one of the oldest pubs in Wales, as well as a sprawling market square, shopping streets bursting with colour, and a few intriguing narrow alleyways. If you venture out through one of the wall's many imposing gates, meanwhile, you can also take a stroll alongside the waters of the Menai Strait, with views across towards Anglesey, while you can also look back to marvel at the castle, which is also open to the public, home to its own riveting museum, and a network of walkways high up that allow you to take in some stunning views over the town, and even towards the mountains of Snowdonia in the distance, Wales' highest mountain, situated just under 10 miles away from the centre of Caernarfon. Number 2. Tenby. There are thousands of picture postcard views to be found all over Wales, but few are quite as famous and quite as elegant as the iconic view of Tenby Harbour, found on the southeast coast of beautiful Pembrokeshire. With colourful houses lining the coast and fishing boats dotting the crystal clear water, Tenby is delightfully quaint, while it also boasts a captivating collection of sites, both by the sea and further inland, ranging from the sparse remains of the historic Tenby Castle to the intriguing Tudor-era Merchant's House, the soaring St Mary's Church, the town's former Guildhall, and yet more stunning medieval town walls, best known for the unusual Five Arches Gate, which stands as a symbol of the town today. But when visiting Tenby, it's the sea that captures the imagination of most visitors. This Pembrokeshire town once upon a time known as one of Wales's great resorts, alongside Llandudno. Home not just to stunning coastal views, but a wealth of great beaches, historic seaside hotels, and a collection of riveting islands just off the mainland, from the prominent St Catherine's Island to the religiously significant Caldy Island, which is a popular destination for visitors to Tenby, accessible by ferry. Often busy with tourists during peak season, Tenby still retains a beautifully quaint atmosphere that blends nicely with its historic reputation, making it one of the nicest places to visit for anybody looking to enjoy all that Wales has to offer. Number 1. Conwy. As we've seen, Wales is full of medieval history, spectacular castles, historic town walls, and beautiful seaside locations. But nowhere else in the country brings all of that together in quite as magical a fashion as the historic town of Conwy in North Wales. Home to one of the country's most beautiful castles of all, Conwy is a small walled town dominated by its iconic medieval fortress, another work of the 13th century ordered by the English King Edward I. The huge castle occupies an area not much smaller than the historic centre of Conwy itself, which is surrounded by the town's famous circuit of defensive walls, among the most complete in all of Europe, and which bears within plenty more riveting places to visit. From the secluded churchyard of St Mary's, thought to be the oldest building in the town, to the sloping High Street and Lancaster Square, home to a statue of the Welsh hero Llewellyn the Great, a walk around the centre of Conwy will see you pass by more historic landmarks than you can realistically take in. The dense collection of centuries-old houses, taverns and more, making this easily walkable town a true delight at every turn. The walls themselves are also open to visitors, and you can often take a walk up on top of the historic fortifications to look down over the town, or over the wide expanse of the River Conwy, which flows past it. Outside of the walls, the quayside is undoubtedly one of the best places to relax and take in the beauty of this marvellous Welsh town. The shoreline filled with fishing boats, and the promenade lined with statues, yet more of the town walls, a historic riverfront pub, and most excitingly, the smallest house in all of Great Britain. A fantastic quirk of history that until the 20th century was a simple, snug fisherman's home, with just enough room for a bed, a fireplace, and a coal bunker. Located just a stone's throw away from the resort of Llandudno, where it's probably best to stay given the wider options for hotels, Conwy is easy to reach from every corner of the country, And the town's train station is even a delight in itself, as trains arrive by passing through a specially built gap in the walls. Though remember to put your hand out to stop the train, as it's actually a request stop too. So, from historic walled towns to immense seaside resorts, vibrant modern cities, and so much more, there are plenty of places that you must visit in Wales. And these 8 are just a small selection of destinations among the country's many brilliant cities, towns, and villages. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you're now looking forward to making your own trip to one of these 8 Welsh destinations, or somewhere else in Wales altogether, sometime soon.